His name is Clint Barton. He became the greatest sharpshooter in the world. Then he joined the Avengers. This is what he does when he's not being an Avenger. He's a little banged up right now. Let's jump ahead. Clint Barton finds himself alone on the streets following 6 weeks in the hospital. He heads home, which, these days, is on the top floor of an old apartment building. Rent isn't too bad here, plus he isn't recognized as an Avenger that often. However, when he comes home, he finds a family being evicted by the landlord. When Clint politely asks the landlord to stop threatening the mother of the 2 young children, the property owner tells him, "Bro, back off bro, this not concern you." The mother, a woman named Simone, explains that the landlord is the new owner of the building and has tripled the cost of rent. He brings a duffel bag full of cash in the hope of paying all the tenants' rent, but the tracksuit-wearing mobsters are unimpressed. They hiked up the cost of rent so they could empty the building out. Frustrated, Hawkeye winds up getting into a fight. He finds himself getting shot, only to be saved at last minute by a dog who Barton had shared some pizza with earlier. The bad guys knock the dog into the street because of this, and it is accidentally hit by a car. Now furious, Clint beats the men up and takes the dog to a nearby vet. There, the tracksuit bros follow Barton, who has had enough. He pins the landlord to the wall and says, like it or not, the mobster has been paid in full for rent, and another large amount of money for ownership of the building. The landlord says he already had a buyer, but Clint doesn't care, and he forces the gruff man into a cab. Meanwhile, the vet was able to save the dog, though it lost an eye in the process. When asked about the dog's name, the vet sees that it says Arrow on the collar. Unimpressed with this irony, Hawkeye decides to call him Lucky instead. Settling back into his home, Kate Bishop, the second Hawkeye, then comes by. She is the most gifted bowman Barton has ever met, but she's like 9 years old and spoiled rotten. She's pretty great. While the first Hawkeye is practicing shooting, the second looks at some photos Clint has been taking of graffiti in the area. When pressed about it, Barton says that something big is being planned in the criminal underworld. His investigation has led him to the inaugural opening of a lavish hotel. He has Kate come along, as her wealthy family is well connected to many of those attending. The Hawkeyes are also quick to note that many of the guests at this event are some of the largest active members in New York's criminal underworld. Everyone then goes to the hotel's theater to watch a French circus performing in celebration of the opening of this new building. Hawkeye knows this ringmaster is Maynard Thibault, and instantly sees from the way the man throws knives that this person was trained by the swordsman, the same man that turned Hawkeye into a living weapon. The ringmaster then hypnotizes the audience and takes their belongings, so Kate and Clint move into action. They each take on members of the circus, but Barton is quickly outnumbered and overwhelmed. As Maynard gets ready to shoot Clint in the head and dump his body out in the ocean, Kate reveals that she infiltrated the circus troupe and rescues Barton. Together they escape the circus performers until they are confronted by Maynard. So Clint fires his bow, which bounces off the wall and hits the man in the back of the neck. Don't worry, he'll live. Not well, but he'll live. The 2 Hawkeyes leave, stealing a boat filled with all the money the circus had taken. Observing this, Kingpin notes this to his fellow villains. Clint Barton just robbed all of them, and Wilson Fisk suggests they begin workshopping solutions to this problem. Returning to their respective homes, the 2 Hawkeyes talk to each other over the phone. Kate asks why Clint wants to work with her. He knows Avengers. He's even run the team before. So Clint says that she's good, smart, and, rich? But Kate points out that Spider-Man is good, Iron Man is smart, and now Barton is rich himself. Short on answers, Clint clarifies that he doesn't want to sleep with her, before finally revealing the real reason he wants to work with her. See, Barton has to do these things as a superhero. He doesn't want to, he has to. And he sees a lot of himself in Katie, and doesn't want her getting hurt doing these things on her own. Clarifying that she's a big girl and can take care of herself, she agrees to form a partnership just the same. Hearing this, Hawkeye begins to piece together just who is really trying to buy out Clint's building. He's got a lot to do, and though things look bad, At least he isn't doing this alone. Later, Hawkeye sets about finally organizing his trick arrows. After failing to explain to Kate the merits of a boomerang arrow, he sets out to get some tape so he can label which arrow does what. On the way, he runs into a woman with a 1970 Dodge Challenger, a car Clint has always wanted. With his newfound wealth, Barton offers to buy the car from the owner, a red-headed woman. She agrees, but one thing leads to another on the way to the bank, and the two hook up together. She is eager to get the money and go to the airport, so Clint asks what kind of trouble the woman is in. But before she can answer, a gang of the now familiar mobsters burst in and open fire. The bad news is the tracksuit Draculas are no longer playing around. The good news is, well, scratch that. There is no good news. Everything sucks. Hawkeye is beaten down and the woman is captured, so he calls Kate up and the two set out to save her. The chase does not go well, as Katie is unable to tell which trick arrow does what. It ends with the electric arrow causing a massive crash on the bridge. The two Hawkeyes find themselves being held at gunpoint by the last conscious gangster, and Kate is forced to disarm herself by firing her arrow out into the sky in order to protect Clint. But the mobster fails to realize that this was the boomerang arrow, and he is promptly knocked out cold. At the airport, the woman is grateful but says she can't take Clint's money. The car was wrecked saving her, and she can't accept his generosity in good conscience. Barton doesn't know what else to say, so she says it for him. Later, Hawkeye was contacted by S.H.I.E.L.D., who informed him that a tape was about to be leaked of Clint murdering a political enemy of America. So Barton went to Madripoor to retrieve the tape. He was captured by Madame Mask, but luckily, Kate secretly followed him on the mission and rescued Clint. Though Barton was injured during this mission, together they retrieved the tape, which was revealed to be a fake. In reality, Navy SEALs killed the political target, and Barton simply agreed to appear in a decoy tape to help find spies within S.H.I.E.L.D. Clint says he did this to protect the identities of those in the Navy and their families, and hearing this, Kate is impressed, taking Clint's hand and telling him that he is a good guy. We then move on to Christmas. Hawkeye has Tony Stark over and uses the man's genius intellect and formidable knowledge of electronics to help him set up a Christmas tree and lights. When Tony gets fed up with tangled cords and poorly stored decorations, he offers to just buy Clint some new decor. So Hawkeye admits that he has money of his own now, although refuses to say exactly where he got it from. He also tells Tony that this is his life, and no matter how messy, old, and busted it is, he's got to make it work because it is his. The next day, Bart enjoys some quality time with the neighbors until they are approached by more of the tracksuit bros. Hawkeye tells them to back off, only for the men to surround Clint. They overpower him, beating him down with baseball bats before taking him captive. They bring him to an unknown location where Hawkeye is approached by the gang leader. "Bro, you make a lot of big bad people real mad, bro," he says. Clint has stolen their building and helped a woman escape the country, who is revealed to be the landlord's wife. They're actually okay with that, as they can always get more wives. But Clint also stole money from some very important people, and collectively, they are done with the Avenger. Barton needs to make himself disappear, or they will kill everyone in his apartment building. They drop Clint off, and Hawkeye knows it will be best if he leaves town. The Avengers probably won't even notice he's gone, and it's not like anybody else will miss him. He has one of his neighbors send a gift to Kate, and then settles down to watch one Christmas special before leaving. But Clint is suddenly called away from the TV by a knock at the door. Kate got her gift, which was Hawkeye's bow. She demands an explanation, so Clint explains the situation and why he has to leave. Furious, Kate reprimands him, saying this thing he's about to do, this running away business, it's everything about Clint that sucks. Hawkeye thinks to himself for a while. In spite of being threatened by the bros, he chooses to stay, inviting his neighbor Simone and her children over to watch some Christmas specials together. When asked if it's okay and if Hawkeye doesn't have anywhere better to be, Barton says it is fine and that he isn't going anywhere. Together, the family sits down and watches the NBC Wintertime Winter Friends Winter Fun Special, a celebration of a multi-denominational, pantheistic, all-inclusive seasonal festivity. The story begins with the snowman complaining of the heat. As he begins to melt, the children realize that Snowy the snowman is dying. This looks like a job for the Winter Friends. The super team of heroes from every religion and relevant demographic group spring into action, but the sun soon overpowers the entire team. Their only hope now lies with Steve, a dog with no powers they hang out with for some reason. Steve leaps into action, getting his costume, only for his annoying sidekick Lily to come by. She wants to help, but Barton says he can do it all by himself. Hawkeye's brother comes by and also wants to help, but Steve says he can do it all by himself. In spite of this, Hawkeye is accompanied by his friends, and they set out together. Brother even begins to sing, "Adventure, adventure, 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 adventuring with Steve." Soon, however, they are attacked by a pack of wolves. They say these dogs are in the wrong part of the woods, dog. These wolves attack, but our heroes are saved by 3 other dogs. However, Steve is unhappy and once again says he can handle things all by himself. So he sets off on his own, but notices it's getting a lot warmer. Steve then comes by to the Palace of the Sun. Inside, the Winter Friends are being held captive. Steve infiltrates the building and begins a battle with the Sun. Things aren't going well for Steve, but luckily his friends arrive, and together they are able to save the Winter Gang and call forth Mother Winter. She says that Steve is a good dog and freezes the Sun. Back at Winter Friends headquarters, Steve thanks Lily for helping out and admits they make a good team. The end. What a wonderful Christmas story. What was I doing? Oh, right, Hawkeye. Well, Clint falls asleep watching this special, so Simone tucks him in, thanking the man for looking out for her family. Lucky gets up and curls next to his owner. Right, and then we jump back in time for 2 months to deal with a flood that happened in New York and Jersey, and Kate and Clint kind of went on their own separate adventures during this time. It's actually not that important to the main story. The point is that Hawkeye saves some of his neighbors, including a man known only as Grills, who is famous for starting community barbecues on top of the apartment building. This series jumps around a lot. This has to be the weirdest complete story I've ever done, and things are just getting started. Oh well, later on, the woman that Clint saved earlier returns, meeting him at the Avenger's mansion. Kissing Barton, she says that she needs his help once again. However, Barton is terrified to realize that Black Widow, his ex-wife Mockingbird, and sort of current girlfriend Jessica Drew are all standing right behind him. Jessica is particularly concerned about all this, especially the part where they kissed. Barton quickly tries to say he'll handle this himself, and while Bobby is unsurprised that her ex-husband is acting this way, Jessica is furious. Taking the woman away from the mansion, she explains that she's in trouble once more, confirming that her ex-husband is the landlord in the tracksuit. She needs access to the contents of one of the mobster's safes, and without it, she will likely be killed. The woman refuses to say what is inside the case or even what her name is, using the same line she always uses when Barton asks questions. "Ask me no questions. I'll tell you no lies." Barton agrees to help, and the two assault a local club that's housing the safe in question. The woman makes it to the safe only for the police to arrive. Hawkeye takes the fall for the mysterious woman, so she can get away with the safe, while Clint is arrested for assault and trespassing. He's bailed out shortly after, although both Tony Stark and Steve Rogers are now threatening to kick Barton out of the Avengers for violating the principles of their behavior and moral clauses within their charter. And though they successfully stole the safe, Clint inadvertently ruined the woman's knowledge of the safe combination. The woman, whose name is apparently Penny, leaves in a huff. She abandons the safe in Hawkeye's home, as without its combination, it is now worthless. In a dark room, Kingpin speaks. Clint Barton must die. On this, the villains all agree. As annoying as he may be during his day job as an Avenger, his actions during his personal time have become insufferable. The criminals have been robbed, embarrassed, and assaulted. He has cost them money, and the junior associates from Little Urktusk would like to take the lead on this. The leader of the Bros promises to deliver them a dead Avenger, but Owlman points out that's never really been done before. However, the Tracksuit Man insists that they have their ways. When Hammerhead points out the danger and heat this will bring to the criminals, the Bros even offer to pay a large sum of money for the privilege. They want Hawkeye. The criminals end up agreeing, knowing this can all be pinned on the bros if anything goes wrong. They consent for Hawkeye and his entire family to be killed by the tracksuit bros, and they declare that Hawkeye is as good as dead now. Bro. Meanwhile, Natasha begins to look into Penny. She discovers the woman's real name is Darlene Penelope Wright, and manages to track the woman down. When Black Widow catches her, she demands an explanation and what Penny wants with Clint Barton. Penny says she's nobody, but warns Natasha that Barton has pissed off the wrong people and is in danger. Meanwhile, Bobby goes to talk to Clint. She asks what's going on, and Barton admits he might be a bit overzealous lately, and is being watched by a marked van. So Mockingbird promptly goes outside and confronts the men herself. She chases them down, savagely beating the bros and delivering a clear message to back off. Barton then hands her some papers, and by doing so, the two are now officially divorced. In response, Bobby wishes Clint a happy Valentine's Day, and realizing the awful timing of everything, Barton decides it's time to go back to bed. Next, Jessica, Bobby, and Natasha go and confront Kate. They demand to know more about Penny, and want to help out Barton, but Kate is dismissive. In spite of this, they use their status as Avengers to guilt Kate into giving them some answers, and Jessica is given Barton's new home address. Though Kate tries to warn Clint, Jessica beats her to the apartment, where she promptly slaps Clint in the face. Twice, actually. Barton invites her in, and the two talk. She is clearly hurt and feels that Clint has been sleeping around on her without any consideration to how that might make her feel. Jessica says that Barton is a bad person that pushes people away, and Spider-Woman warns Kate, who is waiting outside, that Clint will only hurt her. That is his superpower. Kate tries to cheer her partner up, but Clint is clearly hurt by Jessica's words. Once again, he goes back to bed, visibly depressed. Later, he winds up talking to Grills on the roof. The grilling neighbor has Clint go talk to Jessica and explain what happened and how he feels. Hawkeye realizes this is a great idea and sets off to comply. Suddenly, Grills is approached by a man with a white face, who shoots the friendly neighbor in the head. The man with the white face is Kazimierz Kazimierczak. He grew up in the circus with his family, until he and his brother were taken in by the Bros gang when war broke out in their home country. When his brother was killed in a shell strike, Kazi began to gradually change into a heartless assassin. Lucky. Me? Lucky. Pizza? No pizza. Clint? Bowman. Coffee. Food. Kate? Bow girl. Flowers. Wine. Coffee. Pizza. Pizza. Lucky likes Kate. Lucky likes pizza. Kate. Clint. Fighting. Lucky sad. Lucky explore. Simone, other guy, other guy. Grill's not here. Other man, other girl, other woman. Puppy! Puppy, 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 puppy. Oh no, no. Oh no, sad, bad. Pizza? Pizza! Yay, pizza! Yeah, Lucky love pizza. Oh, pizza's the best, yay! Huh, noise. Bad man. Bad owner! No, 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 no! Run, run now! Bad owner, bad owner! Police? Good owner! Coffee? Kate! Kate! Lucky like Kate! Oh, Lucky alone now. That's sad. But wait. Bad man? Bad man! Lucky, stop them! Grrr. Oh, old lady. Puppy. Old lady with bad men? Keys! Hawkeye's back! Oh my god, I love it! Oh, I love owner! Yay, Hawkeye here! Oh, Lucky happy! Yay! Lucky good boy! Lucky pizza! Yay! Kate, Hawkeye sad? Lucky sad. Lucky come! Lucky go! Yay! Car! Lucky love car! Window! Yay! Wait, where's Hawkeye? We apologize for that interruption and will now resume my regular comic, not narrated by a dog. Grills' funeral left Hawkeye devastated, and though Kate tried to comfort the man, he was clearly broken up over failing to protect his friend. The Bros gang also observed this funeral, but were respectful and did not interfere, knowing that Kazi has his own methods and timing. So Kate moved to California with Lucky, setting herself up with a new life on the other side of the country. She couldn't watch Barton wallow in his misery and needed to split from him. In LA, she found herself in direct conflict with Madame Mask. Back in New York, Clint found himself suddenly in the company of his troubled brother, Barney. The two did not grow up in a happy home together, as both were forced to live with their abusive father. But Barney always helped his little brother learn to defend himself and keep his spirits relatively high, even when their parents were killed in a terrible car crash. When Clint was rendered temporarily deaf at a young age, Barney even learned sign language and helped the younger Barton get through this troubling time. Clint welcomed his brother with open arms, introducing him to the neighbors. The community is taken to continuing with their public barbecues on the roof in honor of grills, with the deceased man's father filling in for his son. Barney tentatively accepts this warm hospitality. Meanwhile, Kate makes friends with some new neighbors, a gay couple who are having trouble with a florist, and set herself up as a private detective. This new job goes okay, but Kate finds herself inexperienced and at odds with the LAPD. Madame Mask is also able to track her down and begins to stalk the vigilante. The villain begins going after Kate's friends, including a reporter who is giving her advice, before making it clear that the only way the Bishop girl will be leaving LA is in a body bag. The villain also burned the younger Hawkeye's home to the ground in retaliation for all that Kate has done. In response, she manages to distract Madame Mask long enough to infiltrate the woman's home, where she learns that her father, Derek Bishop, was a client of the villain. She also discovered a scheme being run by Madame Mask to help keep the rich young and healthy through the use of life model decoys. Hawkeye uses this information to get revenge on her enemy, burning Mask's home to the ground and destroying the LMDs in the process. Though Kate was nearly killed while doing all of this, she was saved at last minute by S.H.I.E.L.D. Outraged and frustrated with everything, she decides to return home. On the way, she calls her father, vowing to have words with him when all this is over, but knowing she would need to return to New York and help out Barton first. Meanwhile, Barney is settling in nicely at his new home. The two brothers are doing well together, tracking down the bro gangsters and keeping them at bay. But they're having trouble finding Kazi, whose identity and location escapes even the vast network of contacts and resources available to Black Widow. When Kazi learns that the gang has legal ownership of the building, and Hawkeye is little more than an illegal squatter that can't call the police, the gang decides to attack in force. They do so at once, holding Simone and her family hostage, but luckily, Barney and Clint are able to save them. The two figure out that with the various tenants guarding most entrances, somebody must have let these men in, and there are probably still more of them in the building. Sure enough, Kazi is waiting for Clint in his apartment, having been let in by the old lady staying a few doors down from Hawkeye. The assassin strikes quickly, and as a result, Barney is shot in the chest, while Barton is stabbed in the head, and everything goes. Hey, so I'm deaf. They deafened me. I'm deaf and we need to talk, so I'm going to sign what I have to say. I need to practice and I'm not going to hide it anymore. Barney will translate. It'll be okay. Okay? Okay. Clint begins to sign what must be done, and when asked how he will stop the gangsters, Barton clarifies. They will stop the bros together. Not him. Them. The community agrees. They unite and prepare for war. Barney is impressed with his little brother, but has Clint do two more things. First, Hawkeye contacts Jessica Drew and asks for her help. Second, they begin their revenge, violently taking down one of the tracksuit gang's clubs. With war imminent, Hawkeye gathers all of his stolen money in the basement and offers it to Barney, who is still confined to his wheelchair. He says his brother can use this cash to buy himself out of this mess, but if he's in, then Clint expects him to be in all the way. Barney decides to stick around, and so the entire building prepares for what is to come. He and Jessica also make up, with Clint admitting to his shortcomings and flaws, while Jessica apologizes for hitting him. The two almost share a kiss when Jess is called away on a work-related matter. Meanwhile, the tracksuit bros approach the building in force. Grills' father and Hawkeye start the battle, working together to rain fiery arrows down on their attackers. The bros move in, only to find the building filled with barricades and traps to stop them. A large group of the Hitmen are also mowed down by an all-too-familiar 1970 Dodge Challenger. Meanwhile, Hawkeye finds himself in conflict with Kazi, who he hits in the shoulder with an arrow. When attacked by a spray of bullets, Hawkeye hides, only to be badly beaten by the treacherous old lady who works with the bros. Now incapacitated, the gangsters drag Hawkeye to the roof, where they begin to savagely beat the two Barton brothers. When they pull out a knife, Hawkeye manages to overpower his attacker, though Barney falls unconscious. Devastated, Hawkeye has a quiet moment alone with his brother, while he is shocked to see Lucky is back, holding a trick arrow for his master. Meanwhile, Penny opens the safe for her ex-husband down in Clint's apartment. It is revealed that the safe contains not only her passport and some money, but also stolen evidence of the gang's real estate plans. Oh, and a gun. She threatens the two men, when suddenly, Hawkeye bursts in. Together, Clint and Lucky take the landlord and Kazi down. It is then revealed that Kate handled the rest of the tracksuit gang, and she joins Clint in confronting Kazi. Surrounded by Hawkeyes, Kazi freezes for a moment, until chaos erupts in the room. Lucky winds up being accidentally shot, which nearly kills the dog, while Clint and Kazi find themselves in a violent battle with one another. In the end, Barton is shot with a concealed firearm and slumps to the ground. Meanwhile, Kate manages to get Penny's gun and holds the landlord at gunpoint. She finds herself unwilling to use the firearm, so Bishop tosses it towards the landlord, shooting him in the hand with an arrow and putting the man in handcuffs. With the other Hawkeye wounded and at the mercy of Kazi, Kate Bishop bursts in, saving his life only to be savagely beaten down by the assassin. So Hawkeye pulls the bullet out of his shoulder and, using his formidable skills, flicks the bullet straight into Kazi's head and aggressively pummels the assassin. This building is not for sale. Kate says something, but Hawkeye's back is turned so he can't read her lips. He goes to get some wires and ties the still living Kazi up, and they call the police. Hawkeye and Lucky both survive and are treated for their injuries. As everyone cleans up, Barton is surprised to learn that Barney has disappeared and taken all of the money. Penny leaves with the head of the Bros gang and the old lady, and presumably they all go back home to Irktusk. Meanwhile, the villains gather together once more. They unanimously agree that both Hawkeyes are a serious threat that must die. Even Kate's father, Derek Bishop, reluctantly agrees, and Kingpin announces that it is time they enter the Avengers killing business. Later, Hawkeye gets a call from Barney. Clint is furious, but Barney doesn't care. He set himself up with Simone and her family on a lovely sailboat, and the money will take care of everyone for a very long time. When Clint vows that he will get his revenge, Barney cheerfully says that Hawkeye will do no such thing and let this one go. Clint knows that his brother is right. With the new Hawkeye-themed hearing aid, he begins to practice with a bow and arrow. Soon, he is joined by Kate, and that is the story of Hawkeye. Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden, and this is the complete story of Hawkeye, Volume 4. Well, now I hope you guys enjoyed this one, because this was a real favorite of mine. The comic featured the legendary team-up of Matt Fraction and David Aja, who worked together on the also very good Immortal Iron Fist series. Both that and Hawkeye are totally worth your time. So yes, it definitely deservedly gets a recommendation from me. This series is awesome. I really like the art. Then you can really spot the difference when David Aja isn't working on issues. The other artists that worked on this series are fine, but it's David's art that really stands out, and it just isn't the same when he isn't around. Everything about these two works perfectly. The writing is phenomenal, while the art provides an awesome sense of direction through the use of detail, color, and style. I just adore this comic, and you have to admire how well this was put together. This comic works on so many levels. First, the main plot is well crafted and the characters are absolutely brilliant. I adore Kate Bishop from her younger Avengers days, so it was so great to see her back with the original Hawkeye. And all the supporting characters work well here too, from the villains like the Bros Gang to the minor supporting characters like Grills. The whole thing is amazing down to the little details. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. In this scene, Kate and Clint are talking about whatever, while Barton spills coffee all over the table. He tries to clean it, only to give up and to just drink straight from the pot. This is a great little moment that's never acknowledged directly in the dialogue or the story, but it speaks volumes about Clint's current mindset. This is a great example of truly effective storytelling, and not only do little details like this inform the rest of the story, they also make these scenes feel a lot more real and present within the comic. And then there's all the weird and fun experimental stuff this comic does. I love how we have an issue narrated entirely by a dog, another from the perspective of a deaf man, and a third that's just basically a cute little Christmas special with talking animals that serves as an obvious but useful analogy for the entire series. That's brilliant, and each of these comics are executed flawlessly. Yes, some of you probably went through the deaf comic or the dog story and left it very confused. That's the point. It's not supposed to be clear. You're hearing this perspective from somebody who doesn't fully understand the events. So you're supposed to be figuring these things out for yourself and interpreting the dialogue or lack thereof as you see fit. That's so cool in my eyes, and I really like material that actually challenges the reader as opposed to spoon-feeding you every little bit of the story. So yes, I like this Hawkeye comic a lot. It really sticks with me, and even though this series was heavily delayed and does have its problems here and there, it was all worth it. The wait paid off, the story's weird pacing paid off. I'm so glad I read this comic, and you must check it out for yourself. Now that being said, I'm sure a lot of you are surprised at this, because I know for a fact not everybody likes this comic. I don't know what to tell you guys. I did. It worked for me. The complaints I've heard others voice don't bother me. Yes, this comic goes all over the place, and a lot is left up in the air, but that's kind of the point. It's a very cool mix of fun with a surprising amount of depth to it, and yeah, I don't know what you guys want from me. It's fun. Can't we all just have fun? And this is one of the more amusing comics I've ever read. Yeah, there's some really heavy drama and clever, serious writing here, but I also find a lot of what goes down in this comic to be absolutely hilarious. One of my favorite bits is that everybody keeps mistaking Hawkeye for Iron Fist, a subtle little nod to the fact the artist and writer are famous for working on that Iron Fist series before Hawkeye. It's nothing genius, but it's a fun little moment representative of all the other little recurring jokes and humor in this comic series. I've also heard some people complain that Hawkeye is too jokey in this story, but I don't get that at all. Yeah, Clint doesn't take himself too seriously in this comic, but I've never seen him not be at least kind of humorous, even early in this character's life. I think some readers don't like how vulnerable this guy is in this story, but honestly, that complaint is ridiculous. The fact that Hawkeye isn't some immortal demigod lends itself to the fact that he's just some dude with a bow and arrow. He's not the Hulk. This is a story about a man protecting an apartment building, for crying out loud. And the fact that this guy can be shot, stabbed, and horribly injured lends itself to the fact that this story has real stakes with actual consequences. These characters can be hurt or killed, and that adds a lot of intensity to the story. So no, I don't care what anyone else says, Hawkeye is good. It's one of the better comics I've ever had the pleasure of reading, and hopefully you guys liked it too. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.